Have you ever wondered why, when you step into a Japanese home, you often feel an immediate sense of order and calm? While in America, it is easier to encounter warmth, spaciousness, and abundant comfort. Both ways of living have their own beauty, but the interesting point is that there are certain items Japanese people rarely keep in their homes. And it is exactly this not keeping that becomes their secret to maintaining a clean, simple, and energetic space. In today's video, you will join me in exploring 15 things Japanese people often get rid of. These can be small items like yellowed plastic containers, clothes no longer worn, piles of accumulated papers, or even cultural habits such as the year-end house cleaning ritual. When lightly comparing with life in America, we will see a balanced picture, where minimalism and discipline meet openness and hospitality, where neatness and warmth coexist, complementing one another without conflict. Personally, I once thought that keeping more things meant safety. But after witnessing with my own eyes an 80-year-old Japanese woman living in suburban America, I realized another truth. During the recent Thanksgiving, I was invited to Mrs. Noriko's home with her children and grandchildren. Amid the aroma of roasted turkey and the sound of warm laughter, that small home taught me that sometimes what we choose not to keep is what brings true peace. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you find this content helpful. Your support is the motivation for us to continue sharing more meaningful things. Thank you for being here. And now, let's start with the first item. Item number 1. Yellowed plastic, old and worn-out items. In Mrs. Noriko's kitchen, I noticed there were no yellowed plastic boxes or old utensils commonly seen in many households. Everything on the shelves was clean, bright, and intact. She said that any item that has lost its clarity, turned yellow, or started cracking should not remain in the house. They not only make cleaning heavier, but also plant in the eyes and mind a sense of decline, as if the home itself ages with them. Many people keep such things thinking it still works. But that very attachment makes the space cluttered and gloomy. Mrs. Noriko chooses to let go early, so her kitchen always stays neat and full of vitality. I suddenly thought of the old plastic boxes in my own cupboard. The chipped bowls I still keep. And realized that sometimes discarding a worn-out item is also giving yourself a new, lighter beginning. Item number 2. Clothes no longer worn. When her granddaughter opened the wardrobe for me, I was truly surprised by how few clothes Mrs. Noriko had. Almost unbelievably so. There were no dresses that no longer fit, no coats out of fashion, and no outfits from many years ago that she no longer wore. Everything that remained was well-fitting, clean, and truly reflected who she is now. She gently said that each piece of clothing is a part of memory, but if it no longer serves you, then keeping it only ties you to an old version of yourself. Every time you open the wardrobe, you don't just see clothes, you also see the heaviness of the past. Many people have wardrobes packed full, yet still complain they have nothing to wear, because most of the clothes inside no longer suit them. But Mrs. Noriko chooses a compact way of living, less but right, so that each morning when she opens the wardrobe, she sees only what she really wants to wear, what truly makes her feel comfortable and confident. I realized that discarding clothes untouched for too long not only makes the wardrobe neater, but also opens up a sense of lightness and a very clear freedom. Item number 3. Accumulated papers. When I sat with Mrs. Noriko in the living room, her granddaughter showed me a small box where she kept documents. I was surprised that inside there were only a few neat envelopes, a few necessary papers, and absolutely no thick stacks of bills or old warranties like in many homes. She shared that she used to keep all kinds of papers, fearing she might need them later. But then she realized most never held value again. Paid bills, manuals of items no longer owned, or warranties already expired. All just took up space and unintentionally tied her to the past. She said a drawer full of useless papers is like carrying a backpack full of rocks. Heavy, but useless. Now, she only keeps what is truly necessary for the present. Identification papers, valid contracts, and a few bills from the most recent month. Everything else is discarded or recycled immediately. Listening to her, I thought of my own drawer full of scraps that each time I opened made me sigh. I understood that clearing old papers is not just cleaning the house, but also freeing the mind from invisible burdens. Item number 4. Broken items. While preparing Thanksgiving dinner, I saw Mrs. Noriko take out a small wooden chair for her granddaughter to sit on. The chair was sturdy, not wobbly, and despite years of use, remained intact. She explained that in her home, there is never a place for broken things, from a loose door handle, a flickering lamp, to a chipped bowl. To her, each item has its own life cycle, and if it is broken, it must either be fixed immediately or let go. Keeping them is no different than accepting to live with incompleteness, as if each day you are reminded of something unfinished. She added that when something in the house no longer functions properly, the home ceases to be a place of support and instead becomes a place demanding more effort. I thought of my own home, where a pair of scissors is no longer sharp and the hallway bulb has been flickering for weeks without replacement. They are small indeed, but every time I face them, I feel irritated without realizing it. Mrs. Noriko taught me that repairing or discarding is not just about handling material things, but also about reminding yourself that you deserve to live in a complete space where everything runs smoothly like a gentle flow, unobstructed by meaningless snags. Item number 5. Decorations without meaning. When entering Mrs. Noriko's living room, I found it small but cozy, with only 2 paintings on the wall and a wooden shelf with a few tidy items. There were no fake flower vases left to collect dust, no paintings hung just to fill a blank, and no gifts she did not truly like. She said every item in the house should carry meaning. If not, it does not need to exist. Sometimes the space on a wall is the most beautiful decoration because it allows the eyes to rest. In many places I have visited, people often place too many decorations, random photo frames, hastily bought figurines or souvenirs that do not match the space. But in her home, every item was tied to a pleasant memory, like a ceramic vase her mother once used, or a favorite book on the coffee table. Thanks to this, the space, though with few items, was rich in feeling. I realized that sometimes removing meaningless things makes a room truly alive, because what remains is only what makes your heart smile each time you see it. Item number 6. Shoes worn from outside into the home. That evening, as I approached the door, Mrs. Noriko's granddaughter quickly invited me to take off my shoes and place them neatly in the small wooden Jenkin area. Inside, each pair of house slippers was neatly turned outward, waiting for use. Mrs. Noriko smiled and explained that shoes bring not only dirt, but also the rushed and tense energy of the streets. Entering the house with clean feet or a pair of dedicated slippers is like drawing a clear boundary between the outside world and your peaceful haven. In many families, especially during parties, wearing shoes throughout the house is considered convenient. But in her home, taking them off is a small ritual helping everyone slow down and respect the shared space. I noticed that thanks to this habit, her floors were always clean and light, and the feeling upon entering was different, as if one brushed off a layer of outside dust. I understood that keeping the entry neat with a shoe rack and a small mat is not just about hygiene, but also about creating a subtle pause, a place to put down weariness before finding peace within your own home. Item number 7. Exposed electrical cords and messy chargers. As I sat in the living room to chat with Mrs. Noriko, I suddenly realized what was common in many homes was absent here. There were no dangling chargers under the table, no overloaded sockets, and no messy black wires stretched across the walls. Her TV corner was so neat that I had to look closely to see the cords carefully tied and hidden inside a small wooden-colored tube blending with the floor. She said a messy wire is like a visual noise, always catching the eye and unsettling the mind. She prefers her eyes to rest, so that even in a small room the feeling is spacious and orderly. I suddenly thought of my own desk, where phone chargers, laptop cords, and speaker wires tangled like a nest of spiders. Each time I saw them, I sighed, but left them as they were. Sitting in her room, I realized that just a few cable clips or a small wooden box are enough to turn clutter into neatness. Hiding cords not only makes the house more pleasing to the eye, but also gives the mind a rare calmness in a world already filled with noise. Item number 8. Withered plants or fake plants. By the window in Mrs. Noriko's home, I saw a small bonsai with shiny green leaves, carefully tended. She said that in her house, there was never a place for a withered plant or an artificial flower arrangement. A dead plant is an image of an ending, holding on to lifeless energy, while a plastic plant or fake flower can never bring the true breath of nature. She shared that every day she spends a few minutes wiping the leaves, watering, and even talking to her plants like friends. Thanks to this, her small home is always full of vitality and freshness. I suddenly thought of the plastic flowers in my own house, placed at first to fill space, but the more I looked, the colder they felt, because they do not change, do not grow, and do not create any sense of connection. In her home, even an empty corner without plants feels better than displaying something that only pretends to be alive. I realized that caring for a real plant is not just about beauty, but also about nourishing one's own soul. And if one day that plant fades, knowing how to let go is also part of true appreciation. Item number 9. Dark, poorly lit spaces. While having tea with Mrs. Noriko, I noticed how she let light flow through her home. The curtains were always light-colored. The lamps gave off warm yellow light. Not harsh, but enough for every corner to be gently clear. She said that a dark room not only makes cleaning heavier, but also drags the spirit into gloom. To her, light is the breath of the home. the element that reveals everything fully and eases the mind. Many people are used to living with dark corners, broken bulbs left unchanged, or thick curtains blocking windows. Mrs. Noriko is different. She always finds ways for her small home to welcome as much light as possible, whether it's a morning sunbeam or a soft yellow glow in the evening. I thought of my own dim room, the one I often neglect because I feel drained every time I step inside, and I understood that just one warm bulb or a thin curtain can transform the mood. She showed me that light is not just for seeing, but to live more easily and peacefully. Item number 10. Excess containers, bottles and jars. When helping Mrs. Noriko tidy up after dinner, I opened the kitchen cabinet and was truly surprised not to see the common sight of stacked empty boxes or piles of bottles as in many homes. Every container and jar in her kitchen had something inside and was in its proper place with nothing surplus. She laughed and said that in the past she also kept many containers thinking, maybe I'll need them later. But in the end, they only took up space and made the kitchen messy. To her, empty containers hold no real value. They only create an illusion of order. Japanese people prefer to keep things simple. If a container has no immediate use, it will be discarded, leaving a neat open space. I thought of my own kitchen shelf, full of lidless plastic boxes and empty jars still kept, wasting time every time I searched for something. Sitting in her kitchen, I understood that keeping only containers with a real purpose not only saves space, but also makes cleaning lighter. Letting go of empty boxes also means letting go of the habit of useless hoarding. Item number 11. Items that do not reflect one's present self. In her small study room, I saw a tidy shelf with a few books on tea ceremony, some Japanese poetry, and a family photo album. She said that she used to keep many Western cookbooks and craft tools she no longer used, but then realized they only reminded her of an older version of herself. She did not want to live in a museum of the past where each item whispered, "You were once different." Now, she only keeps what reflects her true present self, simple, peaceful, and connected to what she genuinely loves. Many people hold on to items thinking they may need them someday, or to remember a certain time, but such hoarding drains the freshness from a home. I remembered the craft supplies I bought as a student, untouched for years, yet still sitting in my drawer. Hearing her, I understood that keeping too many things that are no longer aligned with oneself only makes it harder to move forward. Only by letting go can we open space for what is new and right for who we are today. Item number 12. Deep trays and hidden cabinets. When her granddaughter opened the kitchen cabinets for me, I was surprised to see everything clearly visible, with nothing pushed so far back that it was forgotten. Mrs. Noriko said she dislikes using deep trays or cabinets because once items are pushed to the back, they quickly turn into invisible burdens. Sometimes we even buy more because we think we do not have them, only to later discover duplicates or spoiled goods. She prefers shallow trays, clear boxes, and open shelves, so that with one glance she knows what she has and what she lacks. I thought of my own kitchen cabinet, where pans sit buried at the bottom, unused, or spice packets forgotten in deep corners until long expired. The difference is clear. In her home, cooking feels light because everything is within reach, while in mine, each meal prep is a tiring search. She showed me that arranging items to be always easy to see, easy to reach, not only keeps the kitchen neat, but also makes life clearer and more energy-saving. Item number 13. Too many items filling the space. Sitting again in her small living room, I noticed the four walls were nearly empty, with just one painting neatly hung and a few carefully placed objects. There were no shelves crowded with figurines, no cabinets stuffed with souvenirs or random decorations. She said that space is also an important part of the home, like silence in music or blank pages in a book. Too many items make the eyes restless and the heart unable to breathe. Japanese people call it ma, the space that lets peace spread. I thought of my own home, where every wall is covered, every corner filled with something. I once thought that was completeness, but in truth, it only weighed me down. In her airy room, I felt lightness spreading everywhere, a comfort impossible if every spot were crammed. She said that as she grows older, she wants fewer things, so both home and heart have room for peace. I understood that neatness is sometimes not about adding, but about leaving space, about keeping emptiness. And perhaps that was the greatest gift I took away from Thanksgiving with her family. The lesson that when we let go, the home becomes brighter and the soul lighter. From Mrs. Noriko, I have learned 13 items that Japanese people usually do not keep at home, so each day can be lived more lightly and more peacefully. You can start today, just by discarding one old or unnecessary item. If you find this sharing helpful, please like and subscribe to join us. Thank you for staying until the end.